You're listening to Radio Flange Goblet, and sadly, our usually scheduled program, Diving with the Mansons, a look back as Charlie and Clang go snorkeling for discarded naughty swimwear, has had to be cancelled due to a mishap at the censor's office where they were accidentally shown an episode of controversial children's program from the 80s, Guacamole Prison. So our apologies, we are again presenting an episode of the After Movie Diner in its place. We do completely understand if you tune into Up on the Mangy Range, hosted by Colonel Bib Bullsack on Radio Burp Coital instead.
You're listening to the sweet sounds of the After Movie Diner. Support us at patreon.com/After Movie Diner. Or I'll punch you in the teats. Rate and review us on iTunes, Earthling. And now, here's your host, John Cross.
Good evening and welcome to the After Movie Complain.
Welcome to the After Movie Observation.
Jim has been complaining now for the last few minutes.
I merely observed that there's not many pages in the memory.
By observation, what he means is I'm pushing middle age and I've decided to just complain about everything.
Pushing, I have stopped pushing because I'm knackered.
Yeah.
I'm now sitting down in middle age.
Yep.
Going, well, let's see how this goes.
But I, for one,
Skylight frittata.
I am frittata.
I quite like having a skylight frittata.
Skylight frittata.
A skylight
have
frittata.
a skylight frittata.
I might have a skylight frittata.
You know what you should have? You should have a skylight
frittata.
Skylight frittata. Do it.
The thing is, I know it's not bad, but diced ham, it's just not an attractive...
No.
Like, there's so many things you can put.
Diced ham
I really
sounds like a white rapper from Belgium or something.
No, for me, it's just a euphemism for vomit.
And coming out tonight, diced ham.
Don't step on that. I'd love to puddle a diced ham behind the pub.
I love how you're like, well, there's not much on the menu. There's like 7 pages.
There's not. It's just... Well, there's usually like... The thing is about... No, I'm just saying. The thing is about diner menus usually is like a page of surprises. You know what I mean? Whether it's like a bowl of meat or...
Surprises?
Well, you know, like, it's not... There's just like...
But they have the skylight frittata. You normally go...
Yeah, but that's just an omelette, isn't it?
No, but you normally go for or you used to, when we first started, you used to go for...
I did used to go for
the
the
dish. No, but you used to go for the dish named after the diner.
Yeah, so
like if the diner had a specialty.
Do they have a special?
So take it, you know...
Oh, a skylight frittata.
Skylight frittata, because we're in the skylight.
Yeah, that does
diner.
kind of settle it, actually. And it does sound good. All right, I'm going to have a skylight frittata.
It's better than having a cob salad.
A cob.
A cob.
A cob on.
A cob.
That's what Americans call a boner.
It
is. I think that I've got a cob on.
No,
it is. I'm sure it is. I'm sure I read that somewhere.
If it isn't, it should be now.
I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it is.
And what do you say?
I might have just had a dream about it.
I have a Skylight specialty menu. That's a surprise.
Oh, okay. There we go. Well, but I usually ignore these because these are like, this is where all the fancy stuff lives. It's like $25 for lobster. You go, of course I'm going to come and get lobster from the Skylight. From the Skylight.
Instead, have a Skylight.
Oh, chef's choice. Oh, that's not bad. Look, chicken pot pie. Only $13. Oh, okay. Here's the... No, okay. This is all right now.
Oh, it's all right now?
No, I'm all right.
Oh, it's all right now. You found the thing that...
Rigatoni bolognese. I don't know why. It's really fun to say
in
Italian stuff in Northern accent. A skylight frittata. And a rigatoni.
Rigatoni.
Why is that?
Do you remember rigatoni? Rigatoni down chip shop.
How is Skylight's famous chili a vegetarian chili? That's just ridiculous.
Well, that's why it's famous, because everyone comes here and goes, oh, don't get the chili.
Infamous. Skylight's apple walnut salad.
In fact, what's weird is they also have a Skylight burger, which has...
They are laying on the Skylight.
Hang on a second, which has the chili in it, which is the black
vegetarian
bean
chili. So why would you have vegetarian chili on a burger?
Maybe the guy who owns the diner is a vegetable.
Then don't put it... But then he's a cannibal. He's cannibalising himself in order to save cows. He loves cows more than he loves himself.
I'm just telling you what I'm reading, mate.
Yeah, I've just called it like I see it.
Well, wait, there is a Skylight Club sandwich. Apparently,
Jesus, they're not
every
shy about
third menu item is named after the...
Clearly. Did they by chance see me coming?
Yeah. Right. What do I want? Well, I don't want a sandwich because I had that for lunch.
Well, I'm definitely going to get a Skylight frittata. Skylight frittata.
These are all sandwiches. I never get the meatloaf.
You say that like you've been denying yourself this pleasure, do you know what I mean? Unwittingly for too long.
Ooh,
I never get the meatloaf. I always want the meatloaf, but I never treat myself to a meatloaf.
No, I never do it. I'll do it.
I do like a meatloaf. I never treat myself to a meatloaf.
Yes. Well, welcome to the show. Anyway.
Welcome to whatever this is.
Whatever this is. Please, as we always do at the
Right.
beginning of the show now.
Oh, yeah, okay,
because
right.
we've changed it up.
Oh, yeah, we have changed it
We
up.
should let everyone know to follow us on social media. So give people your social information.
J_E_A_Wallace. Oh well, hang on. Yeah, at J_E_A_Wallace. That's what I am. Is that what I am? That's just me, right? That's all it is, I think. Or I've got go to jawallace.com, which is my website, and there's like poems and stuff. Hello, yes,
we
I
answer,
am.
yes.
Can I get the skylight frittata?
Okay.
And a cup of English breakfast tea
English tea?
with milk.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And I will have the lumberjack.
How you like this?
So it's
Eggs, how you like?
over easy.
Okay.
And can I get that with the French toast, please? Not the
Okay.
pancakes. Right?
To clean something?
No, water's fine for me.
Cool, thank you very much. He was all business, I liked him. He was in, he was out, bang, 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 bang. Poof.
I felt like there were more questions that should have come from him based on the fact that the lumberjack had a lot of choices and I didn't make any. But whatever I
But it's
got.
not like they're just going to cook it, aren't they? There's no like, how would you like the sausages, sir? Do you know what I mean? All rare. I'd like my sausages rare.
No.
please.
I just meant like, I don't know. There was like
Toast?
2 different versions. There was like a pancake and a French toast version.
Well,
He
you made
didn't-
that choice.
I know I made that choice,
You
but he
made that
didn't
choice.
ask me about it.
Right.
Then there was something to do with like there was a turkey version of it or something that was like, no, I don't know. There was.
No,
there
but you
was,
probably
like,
have to
other
ask
stuff.
for the turkey version.
Maybe
I felt like he gave you the space that you needed to make the
to
choices
ask
that
for the
needed to be
turkey
made.
version.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
I ballsed up the social bit.
when in New
Couldn't
York-
remember my own thing.
when in New York City, don't ask for the turkey version. That's really
that's
what
the
it
lesson
is.
of this podcast.
And also watching
Thanks
Jim's,
very much for having me.
watching Jim's face try not to say skylight frittata
I
in
know.
a northern
I know,
accent.
it's really
It was
hard.
amazing. You were like, "Could I have the don't say it in an accent, don't say it in an accent."
And I said it in a bit of an accent.
A bit of an accent.
Frittata.
Frittata. Frittata. We're just going to be saying frittata.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Oh,
Very
look
much.
at that, the English tea.
Lovely, thank you.
Marvellous. Devonshire, no less. I
Devonshire.
guarantee that's never been near Devon, ever.
Celestial. There's no one in Devon that even says the word celestial.
Well, there are people who say it, and there's probably people there who feel it, but they can't spell it. I think that's probably what you're thinking of there. So yes, anyway,
We're really sticking it to the Devons.
to the Devon,
The Devonites.
to the Devon folk.
Yeah.
So yes,
Devonosities.
go to
jawallace.com. That's the
.com.
easiest
Is that
way.
it? Is it just
jawallace.com? I've got my poems on there, my music is on
poems,
there, and
poems,
a link,
my
a
music,
link to my book,
and a link
to my
to the
poetry book.
To the poetry book. So jawallace.com. jawallace.com.
Also,
You should have told me that, mate, because I'll just put that on After Movie Diner.
Oh yeah. It's all there. There's even like a link because it's like a Tumblr page, but it's just like hosting or whatever.
Right.
And you can click through to
Click
break
through.
down
Is
the
your
pub.
Twitter on there as well?
Yeah, Twitter's on there, emails on there, but there's also like a link to like my
Oh, my-
people I follow or whatever.
Well, my Christ, get involved, people. Get involved.
All on there. All the
It's on
videos
there.
are on there, including the Richard.
All right, you're
my
just going
active
on
reading
now.
a poem, the live.
Yeah,
Viva,
no, I know.
My TV
The
pilot. it's all
TV
there, mate.
pilot, it's all there, mate. jawallace.com. People should be visiting it. way
Never-ending
more.
content.
Never-ending content. There's always more content.
There's always more content.
Are you content with content? I am very
Actually, and
content
also
with
on the
Jim's
YouTube page, I
content.
think about it.
All right, you're going to carry on?
No, I'm just saying, no, this
Keep
is
going.
because this is for us.
Yeah.
On the YouTube page,
Yeah.
every single Diner episode that I've ever been on
Yeah.
is on there too.
How do you do that then?
Well, because you put it up on YouTube every time, and I
Yeah.
add it to my favourites thing.
You
so
do?
I've got like a big listy thing.
Aren't you a blessed puppet? aren't you a
Either that or a raging egomaniac.
egomaniac?
One or the other.
Either one. He doesn't notice. He doesn't.
Possibly both.
Yeah, he doesn't put any other. Just the ones he's on.
Well, yeah,
but that
'cause
makes sense because
It's jawallace.com, not jawallace and friends.
Have we said? It should be, J.E.A. Wallace and Friends. Coming live tonight from the Palladium. J.E.A. Wallace and Friends. The audience reaction, who?
And who?
Who is that, and why do we care about his friends? And how many does he have? I'm betting not that many.
Yeah, not that many. Should be a quick evening.
And now my friends will read a short paragraph.
Oh, well, they were here a minute ago. They were backstage.
Yes, so check out jeawallace.com, and of course,
Thank you very much.
you can check out aftermoviediner.com and
Which you can
contact
also do.
us
Yep.
at hello@aftermoviediner.com. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, all of the places at aftermoviediner.com or facebook.com.
All the places the government is watching.
Right. And you can even call us at 347-669-0053. That's 347-669-0053. Give us a bell. Give us a tinkle. Give us a call. Leave a voicemail. You never know. I might pick up and be like, who is this? Is this a robocall? Get off the end of my line. You know, I might do that.
Yeah, but stick with it.
But stick with it.
Just say something, anything like, hello, is this the after movie diner?
Aye.
And he can say, yes it is.
How was the Skylight Frittata?
How was the
I
Skylight
want to
Frittata?
know. I'm coming to New York.
Inquiring minds.
I'm coming from New York, from Barnsley,
From
and
Barnsley.
I'm looking to know, because I heard Mr. Wallace talk about it, how was the Skylight Frittata? Was it pleasurable? And if so, should I
Now the
get
question is, are we gaining more northern listeners doing this, or are we losing the few that we
There are
already
a few that we
possess?
already have. I don't know. But I will say this. The big push at the moment, the big push, and
push.
we'll make it a second week of big pushing it.
Yeah, why not?
Is to subscribe, rate, and review to Booth Talk.
Booth Talk.
Which, if you
So
look it
many
up,
wonderful interviews.
if you look it up on iTunes, it is Booth Talk by the After Movie Diner station, because the After Movie Diner now is a station. We have 3 separate podcasts as part of Toot Feed, and the Booth Talk is just one of them. It's where we put
Never-ending content.
never-ending content. You'll be content with our content.
It's a content buffet.
Yeah, you will
what
be.
it is.
You'll be content with our content.
Buffet for your ears.
I'm not going to say it again. But we do need. A lot of people have liked, rated, reviewed, and subscribed to the After Movie Diner on iTunes. And do you know what? We're happy. We're thrilled. We're very
All
grateful.
wonderful for
Very
having
grateful.
done that.
But the people, what they haven't done is
Scumbags, the lazy thieving bastards.
Yes, the bastard gypsies. What they haven't done is they haven't gone to Booth Talk, which is After Movie Diner adjacent, and subscribed, rated, and
It's
reviewed.
just nearby.
So just
What's
do it.
wrong with
Right
it? It's just
there.
nearby. It's right
Right
there.
there.
It's next
Right
to
there.
it. It's literally next to it.
It's available-
Not literally, obviously.
No.
Figuratively. Electronically.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, it's available all the places that After Movie Diner is. So go like it, go subscribe, and go listen to
There's just so many amazing interviews. that
Peter Weller.
Yeah, Peter Weller,
Tom Atkins,
Michael Ironside.
Michael Ironside,
William
Fred
Sadler.
Fred the Hammer Williamson, William Sadler, Cynthia Rothrock, Barbara Crampton, because the ladies aren't left out either.
Definitely not. And soon, the bloke down the pub.
Soon the bloke down the pub will be interviewed on Booth Talk. So you really want to subscribe to Booth Talk. Booth Talk. You want to subscribe to it, and I tell you why, because unlike the After Movie Diner, where obviously it's mostly weekly, Booth Talk is not weekly.
It's more a special event.
It's more of a special event. So if you subscribe to
Also,
it,
I'm not on it, which is a big selling point.
right?
So if you're tired of my voice,
Yeah, which I
Go to
already
Booth
am.
Talk.
It's only 10 minutes
yeah,
in.
it's only
I'm
human,
already
mate.
tired.
It's only human, mate.
So, but what I'm saying is, the best way,
Absolutely.
because
No
I
question.
might drop an interview, I might promote it on the socials, and you might miss it because of an algorithm or 10 that doesn't put it right inside your face. And so therefore, if you subscribe, let me finish.
Brian Tyler.
If you subscribe, when the interview is uploaded to iTunes, you automatically have it. You don't even have to worry.
And they're always worth listening to because they're always interesting people. It's
Always
never,
interesting.
It's never egomaniacal blowhards.
No,
Like out
except
to,
when we have you on the show.
except when we got me.
Yeah.
But out to like sell something again. Except when you
In
have
fact,
me.
you just
It's
lied. You
usually-
said I'm not on it, and you're going to be on it not once. But
Yeah, well, I'm not
twice.
on it now.
No, but you will be on it.
Yeah,
Probably.
but mostly. I'm saying
Right.
mostly.
Mostly
when they go to,
you
the,
can
to
avoid.
the interviews.
Put it this way: it's easier.
I don't
to,
interview anybody.
It's easier to avoid Jim on Booth Talk than it is on the After Movie Diner, where we cannot shake him loose.
Yeah, sorry about that.
But no, yeah, Brian Tyler, the composer of
Who was
all,
lovely, wasn't he?
Lovely. Composer of all the Fast and Furious franchise soundtrack.
And
The
a lot of Marvel
Expendables,
movies, right?
2 Marvel movies, Thor 2 and Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3, which I still claim has the best score of any Marvel movie, especially the funky end credits, which is just awesome, and Brian wrote completely himself. What's the other big thing Brian Tyler did? Oh, every time you watch a Universal movie that has come out since their 70th anniversary, he conducted and arranged the Universal theme over the new logo.
Oh, cool.
When they did their 70th anniversary, they did a new logo, and you can tell it's Brian because he has a very specific timpani sound when he does like timpani, because he does a lot of like dramatic
Timpani stuff.
and
Timpani business.
And his timpani business, I can always tell from a
I
mile off.
now feel forevermore in my head that his name will be Brian Timpani Tyler.
Yeah, Brian.
Which is an excellent name.
Brian Tyler Timpani Business.
I quite like Brian Timpani Tyler, but that's just me, mate. It's my head.
Yeah,
Do you know
it's
what
your
I mean?
head. Do it.
No one else has to live
Do
that.
as you wish.
Thank God. But you're supposed to rate. You're supposed to rate. You know what?
Subscribe, rate, review.
Just click on the stars, right? That's it. It's like clicking on some stars. It's
Yeah, you
so
don't even have to review
incredibly
it.
easy.
Just rate it, really.
Yeah.
Just rate it.
Rate it and subscribe it and listen to some amazing
And then just write-
people.
just write,
just
like,
fun
good
people working.
interviews.
They're out there in the trenches. You know, they're not sitting on their ivory towers. These are people out there making movies.
Ash vs. Evil Dead cast.
Ash versus Evil Dead, who are also fantastic.
Bruce Campbell, Ted
Bruce
Raimi,
Campbell.
Dana Di Lorenzo, Ray Santiago. It's all there, mate.
Yeah.
We don't skimp
There's no skimping.
on the Ash
There's
vs.
too
Evil
much
Dead
content.
cast. There's too much content.
There comes to a point where you're like, I can't listen to this anymore.
Oh, here's another great thing.
I'm literally bored of how amazing this is.
So here's another great thing, right? So this is from Roberto. I myself am quite a fan of the interview podcast. There are quite a few out there right now, most of them hosted by comedians, but I listen to quite a few of them.
Of course you do,
I'm
mate.
quite a fan of the interview
You're
podcast.
boning up on your own technique. aren't you?
But so often I get to the point where I'm like, oh, I'm kind of done. Like I've listened to all the episodes,
Right.
and then I have to wait till someone I like comes around again. And really, someone I like only comes around every
It's only
10 or
like,
15
3
episodes.
people?
I only like about 3 people. So, what's good about? Oh yes, that's over here. Thank you, sir.
Well, that's amazing.
That is amazing.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Well,
Thank you
lovely,
very much.
thank you. Bloody Nora, that's enormous.
Butter.
I guess that's the butter.
So that's on your toast. I want butter for mine.
Oh, for the
French
what's that?
toast.
What's the?
Oh yeah. It's right there. Well done. Well spotted. Well seen. Good work. Good work. Good butter work there. Good butter
Thank you very much.
observational work. Look at that scarlet frittata. That's quite a frittata if I do say so myself.
Yeah, by frittata standards.
By frittata
This is
standards,
a skylight.
it is a frittata. Well, just think of the joy. What I was going to say about the interview thing.
Right.
I have to wait. I have to be like, well, I have to wait till someone I'm interested in comes back again. However, with Booth Talk, first of all, we will guarantee...
There's someone on there who you're always interested in.
Right. Well, not only that, but we will guarantee that... Yeah, I heard that. Thank you. Well, first of all, we'll guarantee that if you download Booth Talk and subscribe, 85% of the content is something that you, if you like the After Movie Diner, will be interested in. I'm going to go as far as to say probably 90% of the content. 100
agree
if I'm
with that.
honest. Anyway, think of the thrill. Think of the joy you will have. You download this podcast, all of a sudden, there's 30 plus episodes. I mean, that's going to keep you busy till the next one comes along. Bonus.
Definitely about.
Do it today. Booth Talk. Booth Talk. Booth Talk.
I had frittata in my mouth.
Booth Talk. Booth Talk. Booth Talk frittata. All right, so I think that's got most of the gubbins out of the way. I had one other positive thing to say about the world right now.
Okay.
And that's quite surprising, right? Considering
Yep.
the colossal shitstorm in which the world
That
seems
is
to be
the
blowing
universe,
about.
yeah.
That is the universe.
Yeah.
How about this?
Go on.
Compared to 2016, 2017, and 2018,
Yeah.
in which I've pretty much not liked most films,
Yeah.
2019 so far, shaping up pretty damn well.
That's true.
Paddleton on Netflix,
Right.
loved it, thought it was really good. You'd like it, maybe not like all of it, but you would love, there's a car conversation where they're talking about what they would do if they had wishes with Ray Romano. I'm not even going to tell you. It is genius. You will.
Okay,
absolutely love
I'll
it.
definitely go for that then.
Paddleton on Netflix,
All right.
really good. The man who killed
Hitler and then the Bigfoot.
Hitler and then took Bigfoot,
Which is great.
definitely worth watching. Triple Threat. I can't review it officially until March 15th, but sneak preview to After Movie Diner listeners, it is the balls. So there's that.
I'm only in February.
Alita I kind of enjoyed, not that I would necessarily watch it again, but I definitely kind of enjoyed it for the effects and things. What else have we watched this year that I really enjoyed? I feel like I've generally liked most things.
Yeah, I think we had a pretty good run.
And then that brings us up to tonight's film, which was Fighting with Family. Do you want to give them a rundown, Chief?
Sure. So, it's based on the true story of a girl from Norwich, England, a wrestler, Paige, who, having been a wrestler since she was 13 with her family, like wrestling in a tiny little kind of local, it's not exactly a competition, it's more like, it's kind of a show really, it's like a local show, you know, like a village hall or whatever, where maybe they get like 20 or 30 people out to watch them do their thing, and they run a little school training kids to do wrestling. And
It's the World Association of Wrestling.
World Association of Wrestling.
They kind of made it up.
And she...
local legends is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Local legends.
Yeah,
of
local wrestling legends, yeah. And her and her brother send off tapes to the WWE to be considered for... to be included on the roster, I guess is what it's called. And they get a chance to audition.
Up in London.
Up in that there London.
Or not up in London, sort of west in London.
West in London. But unfortunately, Paige gets picked, but her brother, Zach, does not.
And her brother is almost more gung-ho than she is. Almost, sort of.
And thus begins a split in the family, where Paige finds herself alone and far away from home in this punishing training schedule.
In Florida.
Kind of alienated.
With none other than Vince Vaughn.
Vince Vaughn. A surprisingly good Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
I mean...
He was Vince Vaughn. I mean, yeah, he was fine.
He was, but I forgot... But here's the thing. I forgot he was Vince Vaughn.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I felt like my biggest problem when he showed up was that he couldn't help himself from being Vince Vaughn.
No, but I'm just saying...
Which I suppose is why you hire him.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm just saying I forgot he was. I started thinking of him as his character.
Right. Sex tape.
I mean, ultimately, yeah, sex tape. Ultimately, it's a feel-good story, but there's a large bit in the middle of the film, a good like half an hour, 40 minutes, that's genuinely quite, harrowing is the wrong word, but it is quite, I don't know, upsetting almost. Like there's this really tight-knit family, and they love doing this thing, and all of a sudden she's like far away, feeling alienated and crap and like not good enough, and the brother's going through a rough time because it's been his dream and now it's been taken away from him, and it's like real stuff. You know, it's not bullshit. I mean, obviously it's a fucking wrestling movie, like backed run by the WWE, so of course it's like mostly bullshit. But I'm saying like the things they go through.
They gave it to a British guy. They gave it to Steve Merchant. They didn't. It's not like they got some American to do a glossy job on it.
No.
The councillor
And hiring her. Anyway, that's basically. And anyway, it's like, is this going to turn into a feel-good sports movie at some point? Because that bit in the feel-good sports movie where the two lead characters are estranged, and like there's usually a montage of one of them drinking maybe and going back to bad old habits or something until finally at the last minute they come together and blah blah blah. That bit that usually takes one montage in a sports film is like the middle 40 minutes of this one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird. So
did you like it? Because I really, really liked it.
Quick capsule review is generally I enjoyed it. Yes. I think because it wasn't. What's the best way to say it?
Right, mate.
What you just said.
Right.
About a usual sports movie where you know at some point they're going to be, they're going to be knocked down within an inch of their life, and then they'll find a way to climb back out the hole.
Right.
A whole 2/3 of the film was her sort of being knocked down all the time, with the wrong kind of pressure coming from her family, because her dad takes his pride to a point of like, it's not only tied up in like making your dad proud or whatever, it's also tied up in their livelihood. Like
Right.
he's trying to make money.
to go back to thieving.
Yeah, he's tried to make money off the back of her, because they are, this wrestling thing is sort of not a scam, they genuinely love it, but it's also a way to kind of, bilk people out of $20 a night or whatever. And I think that what was difficult with that is because I happen to know that Paige is a wrestler, like I happen to know that it works out. There was a bit in the middle of the movie where I was like, I wish I could be more engaged with this, because I'm just waiting for the montage in which she figures out her shit. The other thing that I think was difficult was that throughout the movie, we're told that the reason why she is there and no one else is picked along the way, really, is because she's got something. And all kudos to the actress who played her and everything, but I just did not feel that she had anything at all. And I found that very difficult. I kept being told something that I wasn't seeing.
Right.
And I think that it's a tricky, because there's so much emotional requirements made of the story and of therefore the actors playing the part. I think Merchant hired her mainly for her emotional ability and her vulnerability, rather than whatever it is that she needed to have in order to be Paige, the wrestler. So even at the end, even at her triumphant moment, even when she does her speech at the Raw, WWF Raw, I'm still not feeling her as whatever this thing that Vince Vaughn's meant to have seen the whole time. Doesn't mean I didn't enjoy the film, it just meant that there were a couple of times where I wasn't in it. I wasn't deep in it, following the emotional arc. And that was difficult for me.
Well, fair enough. I sort of know what you mean, but I felt they made an interesting decision not to have her come good until after she'd wrestled.
Right.
And they made the decision, because any other movie, right? Any other movie, and this is what I liked about it the more it went on. Any other movie, first of all, the three blonde girls would have been mean.
Right.
And she'd have been rightly alienated from them, and there would have been a moment of triumph at some point where she got the better of them.
Right.
And instead of that, it was her learning, and this is what I liked about it.
Because when she goes to Florida, she's basically confronted with the fact that the only other women who are in the NXT
the
training
kind
squad,
of program.
training program, are basically former models and what were they? Models and
cheerleaders and stuff like that. But that's what I mean. So any other film, they would have been mean, and she would have got the better of them at some point, in public or something, right?
Right.
And she'd have got her brother to come over,
Right.
and he'd have trained her, and he'd have got belief in himself, and she'd have got belief, and they'd have come up with something, and it would have shown Vince Vaughn that she was for it, and then there'd be another bit where they before they got on the stage, but instead of doing that, and this is what I liked about it, it was never about her fighting, even though it was a wrestling thing. It was never about her getting the better of other people and beating them. It was never about that her brother had to come to terms, with his fate or whatever. It was never her job to make her brother feel better. You know what I mean?
Right.
It wasn't her job to get one over on the Mean Girls, make her brother feel better, do her dad proud, and win the thing. It was all about her coming to terms. This is what I liked about it. This is why I would slightly disagree with you. Although I understand where you're coming from, and it's not that you're wrong. But I felt like it was all about her discovering what that spark was, right? That she didn't know what it was,
Right.
And other people see it, but we don't see it because she doesn't see it. And it's only right at the end where she's beaten the big star, and held the belt aloft, and said, "This is for all the freaks in the world. I'm a freak from Norwich. This is for anyone who's ever felt like a freak. Well, this is for anyone who's ever felt like a freak from Norwich." It was a really good line, and you could see, like, at that moment, all the crowd, and they all do it. They're all an odd-looking. They're an odd-looking bunch of bastards, like most of them, right? And you could see all of them instantly connecting with her in that moment, And it's not that she's beautiful. I think it's interesting that the shots of the real life page, she's closer to the cheerleaders than she is to the women. They hired this who's a great, she's a great actress, but she's obviously, certainly an.
She's a real person.
She has a very real body type, and she's a very real person. And you could see in that moment that the connection was formed. And when The Rock turns to Vaughn and and they're like, you did it again, you unearthed the star. The fact that she's put right in, it's like that he knew that the way to create a female star was to make her somebody instead of somebody that they would admire and want to sleep with, somebody they would identify with, they would want to be, And so for me, the journey of the film was not like normal sports stories about like getting one over on other people or proving people wrong. It was about discovering what it is about you that is worthy of celebration, of praise, of being a star. And it wasn't about talent. Like, it was never about talent from the very beginning. And that's what's interesting about The Brother. It was never about like who's a good wrestler, because it's fucking wrestling. It was about coming to terms that you deserved your dream. You deserved to be who you want to be.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my take.
No, you've actually made it a lot better. Please don't get me wrong. I liked it. As always.
It did change in tone though, because the first half an hour is genuinely really funny, like laugh out loud funny.
As always,
and then it shifted into something slightly different.
A first time, I don't know if it's a first time director. I know he directed some of The Office, but certainly like a first time movie director.
I think so, yeah.
I get it. I wish they'd gone with someone else. I wish they'd gone with someone who, I don't know, just got pacing a bit better, got a little bit of visual flair, a little bit. I don't know if it needed a better director or a better editor. Very difficult. And it also sounds like I'm down on the film. I'm not. I really enjoyed it. The cast is impeccable. The cast is the best thing about it. The cast is fantastic. You're right. The first half an hour is very British comedy-esque. It's got like a wry but dirty but silly sense of humor, which is perfect. We love that. I think for me, the sticking point was the middle bit, because with the best will in the world, the way you watch the movie, which I have to admit is not the way I watched it, although I totally understand where you're coming from as you talk about it. It was a lot to sit through. It wasn't that I wasn't willing to give it a chance, because obviously I gave it a chance. I watched it, I wasn't bored and whatever. But I was watching the middle bit being like, I can't imagine most people are going to sit through this. Which means I wasn't fully engaged with it. Do you know what I mean by that?
So I just found a hair on my toast, so I'm a little... And the thing is, normally I'd be like, oh, it's probably one of mine, but I don't have any hairs.
Could be one of my beard hairs.
Which is worse. It's almost
actually
worse.
Not. My beard hairs are curly and ginger.
Yeah.
But just don't eat the toast anymore.
Yeah, no, I know. People have hair and it falls off. I get it. I'm alive, I don't have hair, but I'm here. Sorry, crack on, mate, crack on.
I don't know what I was saying.
I'm sorry, I distracted you with the hair talk.
With the hair on.
I think you're saying that you found the middle bit difficult to sit through.
No, I just found the middle bit the kind of thing where I'm like, oh, this is quite a strong ask to expect people to sit through this like length of time of her just constantly being down. And I think that I think it's because I was sat around. I kept waiting for what would normally be expected.
Yeah.
And that's my own fault. That's not the film's fault. But it did mean that every time I thought, I was like, oh yes, now she's going to go and do the thing. And then she didn't do it. And I was like, oh, all right, she's still got a lesson to learn, huh? And then like...
But that's the thing.
It just went on
I know
and
what
on
you mean,
a bit for me.
but there wasn't a lesson to learn. You know, it wasn't like that's what I liked about it. There was never a thing of like, she's going to learn like lesson A, and that's going to come in useful in the finale, and then there'll be lesson B, and that'll mean that she gets to like do the thing that gets her across the bridge to the finale. It wasn't like that standard sport, and I get where you're coming from, that standard sports thing, but that's why I started to become. The reason I liked that part was because it started to make what she was going through seem much more real and less like think about it this way: if you just make it like a straight up feel good sports movie, right, then there's no. Here's my argument: if you just make it a straight up sports film, the problem you have is that the actual competition part of the wrestling is A, obviously fixed, and B, not fake exactly, but certainly choreographed.
Right.
So there's no sense of like overcoming any kind of struggle
Although
to become talented.
How did they choreograph that final? Like it was literally like the day before The Rock went, tomorrow night you're going to go on Raw. I'm like, well, I don't.
Well, to be fair,
How does that work?
I don't know how it works, but my guess is with those things, with the amount of fights they have to do, and they do like fights, and there's like 20 of them in a ring, it will be very loosely sketched out, and it would be like a story. Like, you know, there's a bit where Nick Frost says to them in the ring, right, a bit of back and forth, you know, you start to get one over her, but then in the end she turns her tables and gets like that kind of thing, and then they just work through well choreographed moves, because she said, you've always got to look at me so I know when it's coming. You know, things like that. I think there's like, if you're a good enough wrestler, and that's probably why they felt okay with throwing her in the deep end. Because if you're a good enough wrestler and you can read other people, then you're able to like create that story between you, even though it's only pretty roughly sketched out.
Yeah.
That would be my guess, but I don't know. But I guess what I'm saying is that you can't have a thing where like she struggles for an accepted sports movie amount of time,
Right.
overcomes that, and then in the big, you know, because the real test is like the big game, where are they going to overcome their demons to like hit the ball out the park, blah, 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 right? That's the test. But the big finale in the rest of the movie, that can't be the test, because it's choreographed, whatever. So the test has to be her getting in the ring and being able to pull off the show, like having the belief that she belongs there, that she deserves to be on that stage and be in this show.
Right.
That's what she has to come to terms with. So for me, that middle bit, even though it was long, it made her feel, and you know, especially that choice of actress, it made me feel like what she was going through, like her alienation and her loneliness and her isolation. And they didn't make it easy either. Like when she confronts the blonde girls about like, you're talking about me, whatever. And they could have like humiliated her, but instead they chose, like the film still humiliated her in that moment, but because she was wrong. Like they weren't talking about it. They were actually saying, you don't even know us. You know, we've got lives and we've got kids, and like this means just as much to us as it does to you. You know, so she had that moment of being humiliated by them, but actually it was just because she was wrong. You know what I mean? And she didn't belong there. And that's the thing. Like all those things were not like, oh, they're doing you down and you need to rise up. It's like, you don't think you belong here. You know, like you are alienated and you're lashing out and you're isolating yourself because you're afraid and you're alone and you're worried about, you know, what happens if you fuck it up, because look what happened to her brother and all that kind of stuff. So that's where I'm coming from, is that it needed to be longer, otherwise it wouldn't have been real.
And I understand that. And like I say, I did enjoy it. I can't say that I have much to talk about it, but I did enjoy it. And I really like your take on it. And I just wish I felt more like that.
Which is fine. I mean, I would.
And I think it's one of those movies where, having watched so many stereotypical genre films, that's actually like in the case of Alita, it stood me in good stead, because I wasn't sat around waiting for some like big character arc to develop. Whereas in this, it didn't stand me in good stead because I was sat around going, all right, I get it. Yeah, I know it's rough. It's really difficult. No, I know she's got to believe in herself. Yeah, no, I know she's got to believe in herself. Yeah, all right. Can we get on with her belief? I know, and her brother's got to figure out like where he really fits in the world. No, I know. Come on. Can you figure out where you really fit? Like, and that's not to take away from like the great writing and the good performances and everything, but that's just me being so set in my ways from Rocky movies or whatever it is, that watching a film like this, I'm like, I get it. She's going to end up on WWE because I've seen Paige in WWE. So it's kind of like sitting through Titanic, going, yeah. The boat's going to sink. Can we get to that point? And I hate now, with your explanation of it and seeing it with that perspective and going back over those scenes in my head, I kind of hate that that's how I watched it. It doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy it and I couldn't see the value in it.
But can I just draw an interesting parallel here, which is that what I was complaining about Battle Angel Alita last week.
Alita Battle. The manga is called Battle Angel Alita.
Cool.
They flipped it. Clever.
There's
so
clever. No end to the clever things happening with them.
Cameron was like, you know what would make it more successful? Put a colon in there. What we really need is Alita
more colons.
Colon. Because the old one didn't have a colon.
No, Rodriguez, not those colons.
Yeah.
Right. What bothered me about Alita, whatever,
right,
was that it never picked me up and like took me on a journey.
Right.
And what I liked about this one was it picked me up right at the beginning with like these great characters, this great story. And I knew I was watching a sports film. Right, so like you, aren't you? This is going to end well. But I enjoyed the fact they picked me up at the beginning. And then they didn't put me down for the whole thing. They didn't put me down and go and worry about some other storyline. They didn't put it down, and it wasn't so predictable that I started to get bored. I started to get more and more drawn into it because it wasn't doing the things that I was expecting, but I was still captivated by like the characters and the story, knowing it was going to end well. Now the thing is, this is why I think that you and I are different. I am a like horrible sucker for being emotionally manipulated by feel-good sports movies, like a proper.
No, I am.
No, but I mean, like, okay, and maybe what I'm saying is,
and by the way,
I almost don't care how cheesy or terrible it is. Right. If it's a sports movie where some kind of like loner outsider, like triumphs, I will watch that, even if it's the worst, most manipulative crap ever. So this was like, well polished in terms of like me and look, I'm somebody who likes to have a good mope.
Right.
I like staring at my belly button and moping about things, right? So this is like top quality moping combined with like top quality emotional manipulation sports movie. I'm in,
Right.
It was just one of those things where sometimes, even though I felt like this is a long middle, but I'm still along for the ride. Like
right.
I never felt, and I understand how you could feel like a bit thrown out by how long it was. I'm just saying, I think the difference is that I enjoy actively being emotionally manipulated by sports movies or feel-good movies like this so much that I was just happy to be along for that,
right?
Knowing that it was coming,
And I would say this. At the end of the film, I could have quite easily cried.
Yeah, me too. I was very
I didn't, because I felt like that would have been weird.
With the bit when Nick Frost is like, oh, look, he's crying. I was like, I'm a bit like that.
No, me too, totally. I could have cried quite happily.
He was great. By the way, he was great.
Like Frost always is.
But this was a particularly good character for him.
What's incredible about Nick Frost is that, like Peg says, he like found him waiting tables at a taqueria or whatever in central London, and he was perfectly happy just like mooching his way through life. But he used to do this jokey character Mike that made everyone laugh, who was like a TA guy or whatever. They put it in space just because they were like, wow, it's a funny character, and if this is all we ever get to do, it'll be fun to have Mike in it or whatever. And then he's like the best thing in it. Like when you go back and watch Spaced, he's like, him and Brian are the best thing in it. Him and Mark Heap are the best thing in it.
Yeah.
Not to take away from Peg, who's great, but like...
No, I know what you mean.
He's the best thing in it. And then when you watch Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End, it's actually not till The World's End that Peg is finally the best thing in it. Peg is hands down. Peg will never be as good as he's in The World's End.
Yeah, that's
Peg,
true.
Peg is so good in The World's End.
Yeah.
And actually, Frost doesn't have enough of a character to really do much with The World's End. But with Shaun and Fuzz, Frost is the best thing in it.
Yeah.
And I watched. Frost did an interesting movie, the dancing movie. Did you see this?
No, I never saw that one.
The salsa movie or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I forget what dance thing was.
Yeah.
And it was, again like a weird feel-good movie, like, the fat lonely guy is gonna like find true.
Oh yeah, did it have like what's her face from The Office? Rashida Jones? Is it that one? Yeah.
Is gonna find like true happiness in ridiculous dancing or whatever. And it wasn't bad, but I mean, I've no interest in going back and watching it again. And maybe he is at his best when he is not carrying the whole film, but he can show up and just do really nice character bits.
Yeah.
But you're right, he was super good.
And one of the great things about him in the movie was that he was simultaneously, I bought him as like, the lovable patriarch that they'll all do anything for. I also bought him as the violent ex-criminal.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
But I also bought him as like the slightly clueless, overbearing patriarch that was a little bit disconnected from what was going on with his kids. Like,
right.
It was like three separate characters there.
Yeah.
But it's very human, like people are. But he managed to be all of those things and completely believable in all of them. And really, weirdly, even though she was great and Hetty was great, without Frost at the beginning and kind of acting as like not only like he's sort of pressure all the way through, but simultaneously, thank you very much. Also comfort in that there's always a feeling of like if she does pack it in, like she is going to be okay. There was never a feeling of it's this or ruin.
Right.
For her, it was something else. It was all internal. That was what's so great about it. And without him being pressure but also comfort, like not in the movie, like just like having been in the beginning and occasional shots in the middle, but what he's doing was so good. It laid a base for everybody else in the whole film.
Well, what it felt like was this. It all felt real.
Yeah, and she was really, really. She was in a Netflix film called, I can't remember the hell it was called. It's like a Netflix horror where it's a brother and a sister, and they go to haunted houses, and like they're con men basically. Except she sort of has a bit of a gift. It's a really good movie, but because they go in and it sort of starts off as like the usual, like, oh, she's pretending to have a gift, but really she does, and now the ghosts are coming, and then it turns into like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's like a haunted house movie, then the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's really good, but she was in it, and she carried the whole film because it was a bit like hokey and goofy, but she was like magnetic in the middle of it with all this like crazy shit going on. It was all properly like hokey, like haunted house tropes and then Texas Chainsaw tropes, and yet she made it all seem like one film.
Yeah.
And that's why I was really looking forward to this movie. It's like, oh yeah, this is the same Florence Pugh, and she was just the same, like being a woman in a wrestling movie where you are a realistic body type and you're going to be asked to like parade around in shorts, up against she was really good, really good. I didn't even, I didn't even notice like her. But she wasn't fat or anything, but she wasn't like
but
conventionally.
No, but I mean, I don't really mind that. But what I was,
No, I'm not saying I mind it.
What I was going to say is, it felt very real. Based on the performances and based on the way it was shot, but without being like, oh, look at how gritty real.
Yeah.
There was just real.
There was
you didn't need a scene in which, I don't know, someone threw up into some dirty Y-fronts and then had sex with some pudding. Like it was just like regular real. Like I feel like the thing
but
always...
the houses was a great thing too. They didn't try they didn't prettify Norwich. You know what I mean? Like with like some tumble down like cottages. I don't know, something. They just
But they
built
also
it in a
didn't
council estate.
Gritify it. It was
No.
just
No, it was
very
just there.
as
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
I literally have friends who live in places like that, and it's perfectly
Yeah.
fine. But they also weren't like, well, there's dignity in poor, mate. There's dignity
yeah.
in being poor. Like, there was none of that either.
No.
Like, it was just really well done in that regard. Because so many like working class British films, it's the grimness. The grimness of living in a house and there's rats and, filth and my husband beats me and, I'm not allowed, my son isn't allowed to dance and, it's just endless twaddle.
I am referring to
twaddle. But it's endless twaddle. And then you even have like the so-called like art house gritty fucking things where it's probably filmed either in, Leicester or in Scotland somewhere or whatever, and like two sort of ugly, skinny British people who have done heroin huddled together for unappealing sex.
Warmth around a candle made out of their own earwax.
Yeah, they have like unappealing sex in a barn where like they're all got bruises on them and, whatever. It's just everything is grim, and that wasn't like this at all. This was, and I'll maybe even take back what I said about Merchant's directing. I just didn't think it was. I didn't think it was edited particularly well, and I didn't think the camera was doing what it should have been. But in terms of him insisting on realism, but not in a faked way. Like, for example, in The Office, the British Office, the original British Office, as cringeworthy and as caricaturish as Brent is, the rest of it smacks pretty much of like realism, albeit written realism. It's fairly realistic. I've worked in shitty offices like that, as you know, mate, and it wasn't so far from the truth that you were like, well, I don't know what's happening here, It wasn't sort of a Blackadder or a Basil Fawlty or whatever, where you're like, I'm laughing at it, it's really well written, it's exceptionally well performed, but I don't really know anybody like this.
Like Partridge, who's an over-exaggeration of like English tropes rather than anybody I've necessarily met.
You're talking about Alan Partridge?
Yes.
Right. So I feel I've got to, if I've got to hand it to Merchant about anything, I've got to believe it was him insisting on.
Yeah, especially like the
realism.
the bits with like, just things like it's the houses for me, like when they're in the cul-de-sac and it's just like lots of great houses, and there was no attempt to like find one with like maybe a hill in the background or because it's Norwich, it's fucking flat. But like, you know what I mean, like, you bet the WWE executives like, well, this is England, it should be like, we should have cathedrals. Like there was a bit of that overlooking the hill, but mostly they live in these like. It's kind of what England looks like. It's a bit dingy. There's some neon on a Friday night.
And what's funny is even when you look at stuff like the first Rocky or whatever, dingy America is so much more appealing and romantic than dingy Britain, because I don't think they do have dingy middle of the road in the US. It exists. And they have suburbs in the US, and that exists. They just don't tend to make like movies about it.
No, that's true.
I mean, unless it's my neighbour is a killer.
No, you're true, but it's like they'll find places. Like there's always bits where they'll film it where it looks nice, it looks attractive.
Right,
but there's not.
But and it's. But also, us coming from the UK, there's always going to be a certain romance, even to the dingy grittiness of America.
Yeah, that's
compared.
true.
But I can't imagine anyone. Like, I can't imagine, like, Americans go to a council estate in England and go, oh, the romantic grittiness. It's more just the bland ennui.
I wonder if all he did was just, like, make it real. Because, like, the shots of the front room, that they had, because at the end they had, like, clips of these people's real life, which I really like, because one of the most outrageous bits, like, funny bits in the beginning is when they go... mostly violent crimes, mostly violence, and then you see them in like an interview, and that's what they say. It's exactly just taking it verbatim from their interview. But their front room looks exactly like it does in the movie. So I wonder if like they did just like film it outside their real house. Like, why not?
I can't imagine they still live there. That's got to be old footage.
Presumably, yeah. But still, like, you know what I mean?
She was Because when was this set? Like, I remember Paige being a wrestler.
I mean, I'm assuming they blurred the because The Rock wouldn't have retired and John Cena wouldn't have been a thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm guessing, but I don't know.
I think it's set contemporarily.
Yes,
but
it's
not
set now, but it's not. Well, who are Norwich? I don't think Norwich is still sponsored by that, but then I don't know. Anyway, I'm trying to go by who sponsors Norwich, City Football Club.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's clearly set contemporarily, but I guess it could have been like 10 years ago, right?
So
The Rock,
right.
The Rock kind of went on. He would have. I don't know when he retired from wrestling, but it must have been like 10 years ago, right?
Right. I don't know. So here's a question.
Yeah.
Here's a question.
Here is a question.
Wrestling's an odd one. I've never watched wrestling.
Right.
But,
mate.
if I think about it, I can name a whole shit ton of wrestlers.
Yeah.
And if I think about it a little harder, I could probably pinpoint which ones are villains and which ones are heroes. And
Yeah.
even to go as too far as like growing up in the UK, where like definitely WWE and WWF was not prevalent in our household,
No.
particularly, or yours, I don't think.
No.
I was aware of Giant Haystacks and British Bulldog, and even like and I know they're not part of the same. Big Daddy. And I know they're not part of the same federation or whatever, but like I even knew British wrestlers, and in a way, in the same way that we knew like British boxers or British like cricket players, whatever. But even what's weird to me is I have a lot of online friends who like wrestling. I have a lot of online friends who kind of grew up with it. In fact, the other regular podcast gig I do, Dueling Decades, where I play the judge on this great game show, which is an awesome show, by the way, if people aren't listening. Dueling Decades. They have 5 different subjects. It's music, movies, TV, hot product, and news item. And we pick a month and a year from the 80s and a month and a year from the 90s. And we have 2 teams and they duke it out, and I'm always the host. I'm like not the host, the judge.
The arbitrator.
The arbitrator. And it's funny for me because being British and listening to like obviously these guys who are sort of in their 40s and have grown up through the 80s and 90s on the other side of the Atlantic. Because while a lot of their touchstones are the same, like they never say anything where I'm like, well, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
Like I'm all aware of everything. But the stuff that always comes up routinely, whether it's 80s or 90s, doesn't matter, is Mario Brothers always comes up. Wrestling always comes up. It's interesting because, like I say, while I've never sat down and watched a wrestling match, it's so continually in the zeitgeist, continually pop culture relevant all the time. And even though it feels like another world, right? So I listen to music, I watch movies, like that feels to me, TV shows, Netflix, whatever, that feels to me like culture. Pop culture, rather, like the ongoing pop culture conversation. And wrestling feels like something that had its moment, in my world, like had its moment in the 90s or whatever, but like since then, what has happened? And yet, that's not the case at all. It's enormous. It's still enormous. It continues to be enormous. And it's not just because wrestlers like, Hulk Hogan or Roddy Piper or latter day The Rock and John Cena have made the leap to movies, although that certainly helps me, learn who they are and figure it out. There's just something about it. So that was sort of omnipresent. Like I would see clips of it. People would talk about it. People would share stuff. There would be memes. There would be whatever. It's so odd how it's never been a part of my life, and yet weirdly, it's quite a big part of my life. Like in a it's forever present, yet I've no interest in it. Outside of, I quite like how ridiculous all the characters are.
I suppose one of the things...
So I was going to ask, like, has it ever been...
No, I mean, I would say the only thing I would say about that is... well, coming to a close, I haven't had much experience. I probably had when I was growing up, definitely more with Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks and stuff. And I knew what all that was, and I knew that, and they were part of the cultural. They were like pop culture, right? There wasn't like, I don't know, Botham and cricket and Gary Lineker for football or whatever. It was like more pop culture stuff. Like I didn't have to watch wrestling to know who those guys were.
Bruno from boxing.
Oh, Bruno, yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah. But as for American, I guess I always thought it was a bit silly. But when I went to uni, Jimbo, the guy I lived with, Big Jimbo, and he was a huge wrestling fan. Like he loved it, and one night at uni, like it was WrestleMania, I guess, when they've got like 50 people all in one ring or whatever, like the big Royal Rumble, whatever it's called. Yeah. And he was like staying up late to watch that, and he was explaining to me like why it was such a big deal and why it was so great, and and I did watch like quite a bit of it with him, and it was fun, and I guess I understand the appeal of like, when we watch sporting movies or any movies or any like cop show or whatever, like we know they're going to catch the people. Like this is all scripted, it's all not real, but we're still along for the ride. It's still fun. And it's sort of like sporting endeavours, but done like that, where it's like you feel a bit safer, but only in the way that you feel safe watching a really good cop show. It's just like you're just along for the ride. And I can and one of the things I liked about the movie, just to finish up, was they really did a good job for me of showing that even though it's choreographed, it's still really punishing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I never appreciated that before.
No, I never thought it was fake in terms of the physical ability and physical pain required to.
See, I kind of did. I didn't realise it was as punishing as that.
It's like doing stunt work on a film, but doing it consistently for 60 minutes or however long a match is. Rather than in a movie where you go, right, do moves 1, 2, and 3, so the guy like throws a fake punch, rolls on the ground, whatever, and then they go, right, reset lights, and everyone goes off and eats a donut, and then like they come back and do the next thing. This is continual, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not to mention what they do in order to get in shape so that they look good in just a pair of, pink spandex pants and some tassels. But like, I think that the difficulty for me with the wrestling thing is that there was also that, and forgive me if this isn't a WWE, but it's something else. But like, I remember seeing wrestling stuff where people would have like barbed wire and stuff.
Yeah,
and,
that's like a different. That's a different.
Like
there's
bleeding,
like another
like
slightly more amateur wrestling thing where I think Louis Theroux did a documentary about it, and it's like not WWE, but the only way they can get crowds is by doing like barbed wire and hitting people with chairs and like drawing blood, because it has to be like, oh, this is like WWE but raw. This is like, people are feeling real pain here.
Right.
So they have to exaggerate the pain, and it's like really quite punishing.
Yeah.
But it is slightly amateur, and I don't think there's much flow from one to the other.
No. But I remember seeing a lot of clips of that around about the time when you kind of become aware, probably in my teens, when you kind of become aware that there is a subculture, right? So, and for some reason, it was tied into, wrestling where like people were taking big chunks of wood with barbed wire wrapped around it to the face and head and like bleeding from their forehead. Weirdly enough, like skating video accidents. Then that like freak show thing where you suddenly find out that there are people who do performance art where they're like hammer nails up their nostril or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, like, it got very wrapped up into this weird, like, oh yeah, there's this subculture where carnies and madmen just kind of go around debasing themselves. And I have to say, for all my love of like horror films and gory special effects and things like that, that kind of stuff, it doesn't turn my stomach, but it just does make me kind of be a bit like, it doesn't like draw me in.
But that's why ultimately the the
So
wrestling
therefore,
thing.
I think I always thought that WrestleMania and all that was sort of tied up with all that kind of
No,
stuff,
it's
and
not.
it
It's a
isn't.
different
It's totally
thing.
different.
Yeah, it's much more of like a slick show. But anyway, we should wrap it up there, right?
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it. I understand why the middle dragged for you. I do, and I get where you're coming from. But I really, really enjoyed it, and I would recommend it to anybody, especially if you're somebody who, like me, enjoys feeling a little bit teary at the end of the movie, knowing that all you've done is been thoroughly manipulated into that state, and I'm quite happy about it.
Me too. It was a really good, feel-good end of the movie. A little long, but everyone was great in it, and expect the unexpected. I would say, if I say anything, do go see it, but go see it knowing that it is not going to be what you expect in terms of beat by beat by beat.
Yeah.
So don't get fidgety. Embrace the story.
Yes, agree. And the characters. Thanks, man. Cool.
Yeah, all good. Thanks so much for being here again. I'm throwing straws at Jim, and it's very fun.
And I deserve it.
You do. You do deserve it every time.
Yep.
All right, well, that was our show for the week, and I really do hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget, go over to jeawallace.com, pick up some of Jim's stuff, take a look at it, listen, enjoy it. I'm going to leave you with a little sneak peek. It's an exciting sneak peek into the next Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures album. Say what? I hear you cry? Yes. I'm a sort of band. Well, I'm in a band. It's just me, really, but sometimes I have other musicians play with me. But this song is just me. Under the name of Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures. You can find that at miscplumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com, or search on Spotify for Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures, or check out on Amazon Music or Google Play, wherever you find songs. There I am, hiding in a dusty corner next to some miscellaneous plumbing fixtures with all sorts of tunage for you to enjoy and explore. So do please check that out. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with a little sneak peek to my next album. Anyone who follows me on social knows that recently in February for my birthday, I got a sweet, beautiful electric guitar. So this was the first song I wrote on it, and the first song where I rocked out electric style. For anyone who's been listening to my music knows that it's sort of acousticy and folky normally, because I've only had the old Fender acoustic here in the US. But now I'm ready to rock, ladies and germs. So yeah, check this out. It's a bit of a rock song called Way Back Here that I wrote about a month ago. Enjoy that, and until next time, if you're in a diner, tip your server. signs of embarrassment. But they signed the papers and they've got the keys. Starts of a settlement. He's found a rhythm and he knows the breeze. A moment of enlightenment. How from out there he got back here. He was way out there, but he got back here. Rough around the edges, ragged and sore. He knows for the rest of his life who he will go. Pulls the ocean up around his wounded neck. Let him be for just a moment, adrift, a wreck, to be discovered, to be put back together, to be discovered.